Well, let's get you all warmed up, and let's now start with the very important political contributions. For those of you new to our Ocean Wealth process, there's a National Marine Coordination Group involving 8 government departments anchored in the Department of Untitled, that together over a sustained period of years is progressively evolving, improving and implementing, managing, tracking and reporting on the performance in the execution of an integrated marine plan for Ireland. And in your packs you get this year's report, which is the meatiest and largest in the 3-year history of this event. And without further ado, it is my great pleasure to welcome to the stage the new Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine, Minister Michael Creed, a great GAA man. I'm not sure if Cork football or Mayo football are in worse state at the moment, but we're sharing each other's pain. Minister.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Very warm welcome to our 3rd Harnessing Our Ocean Wealth conference here in UIG Galway, and I'd like to acknowledge the President of UIG for facilitating the hosting of this conference in this location, and to, I think, salute UIG's long and historical association with marine research and innovation. Today, we update you on the progress in implementing Ireland's integrated marine plan, Harnessing Our Ocean Wealth, and hear from a range of interesting panellists on the next steps in taking the blue economy forward. As a minister, without an inch of coastline in my constituency, I am making new marine discoveries every day in my new portfolio and have been really staggered by the potential of the sector. I was privileged to attend the Marine Industry Awards last night, and to touch and feel almost the energy and the commitment and the dedication and the sense of collaboration in that room was really an eye-opener for me as a minister of just 6 weeks standing in the department, and re-enthused me in my commitment and dedication to assisting develop the sector and to commit my department and the officials therein to that task. Not only does the marine have an enormous part to play in our economic development, it also has the capacity to deliver very real social dividends for rural communities, supporting families right around the country, from Mallinhead to Mizenhead, and from the Loop Head to the Hook Head and up to Clorhead. It's an industry that touches all of our economy, but particularly our coastal communities. Before I speak in more detail about the main conference themes, I would like to say a few words about the topic of the week, and that's the outcome of the UK referendum last Friday from a seafood perspective. The government position is very clear. Ireland's future is very much within the European Union, and at the same time, we will work to maintain our excellent bilateral relationship with the United Kingdom. Negotiations on the future relationship between the European Union and the UK may not commence for some time yet, and we will take a considerable amount of time to complete, at least 2 years, possibly longer. Many of the issues of concern for the seafood sector, such as currency fluctuations and competitiveness, are held in common with the wider agri-food sector, as the UK market is our 2nd most important market for seafood. For fisheries, however, unlike other sectors, there are the added complexities of having to operate in a world where we exploit many of the same resources and must manage those resources together. Irish and UK vessels traditionally operate in each other's waters. We share quotas for over 30 of the 40 or so different fish stocks for which we hold national quota. But those fish stocks do not respect national boundaries, and under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, we are obliged to manage these shared resources together. From an Irish perspective, I will be doing my utmost to ensure that our interests are fully protected within the European Union, and that we act in concert as good neighbours with the United Kingdom to continue to protect the long-term sustainability of our stocks, our fishing industries, and the coastal communities dependent on them. The broad conference theme this year is Into the Blue, Innovating Our Marine Future. And the 3 distinct sessions will investigate how Ireland can innovate and develop our blue economy under the heading of each of the three main goals identified in Harvesting Our Ocean Wealth, namely a thriving maritime economy, healthy ecosystems, and engagement with the sea. Moderated by the distinguished broadcaster Olivia O'Leary, who we are delighted to have with us today, you will hear throughout the day from a range of expert speakers and leaders from home and abroad, and we welcome all of them here to NUIG today. You will also hear from my Cabinet colleague later today, Simon Coveney, Minister for Housing, Planning and Local Government, who will speak about his new remit for marine spatial planning. In his new portfolio, the Minister will continue to have a very significant impact on Ireland's future maritime development. I'm delighted also that my Cabinet colleague, Minister for Communications, Climate Change and Natural Resources, Denis Naughton, and my colleague, Minister of State for Gaeltacht Affairs and Natural Resources, Sean Kine, are also with us today on stage. I also want to welcome the Atlantic Ocean Research Alliance representatives from Canada, the United States and the European Union, and pay a very special thank you to Professor Jim Brown, President of NUIG, for his generosity and support for this event. Our appreciation also to the sponsors, including Galway City Council, the Irish Ports Association, Ernst & Young, other departments and agencies and organisations for their contribution to the success of the conference and the Sea Festival elements planned for Saturday and Sunday. Ireland's ocean economy is now a growing and increasingly more vibrant part of the Irish economy, with up to 9% growth reported over recent years. The Programme for Partnership Government reaffirms the commitment to delivering on the blue economy growth targets set out in Harnessing Our Ocean Wealth, which will increase the value of our maritime economy to 6.4 billion by 2020, create an additional 29,000 jobs, and many of those jobs will be created in rural peripheral locations where alternative forms of employment are not readily available. It will increase the GDP contribution of the maritime economy from 1% currently to 2.4% by 2030, and in so doing regenerate and revitalise rural coastal communities. 2015 was generally a positive year for the sector, and the indications are that further positive trends will be reported for this year across a number of key sectors, such as seafood, shipping and tourism in marine and coastal areas. In 2015, Irish seafood exports grew in value by 6% to reach a record 570 million, largely driven by a recovery in Europe and also a very strong performance in Asia and China in particular. The total volume of traffic moving through our ports recorded a 7% increase last year, the highest level recorded since the beginning of the economic crisis. Our ports, which are also important gateways for tourism, carried more than 4.4 million passengers in 2015 and are experiencing an increase in cruise tourism, with 246 visits made by cruise liners to Irish ports in 2015, bringing in over 450,000 tourists ashore. The significant success of the Wild Atlantic Way, Ireland's marine-based tourism initiative, is now encouraging other complementary initiatives. Emerging sectors are continuing to deliver on the innovation envisaged in the policy Harnessing Our Ocean Wealth. The Emerc Centre cluster in Cork Harbour recently launched its entrepreneurship initiative, bringing innovative young start-up businesses to Ireland, and the Marine Institute Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland Smart Bay Underwater Observatory Initiative will be launched here this morning. The future of our marine economy is, of course, also dependent on a sustainable approach to development. To put it as clearly as possible, there will be no marine economy at all if the asset itself, the seas and the oceans, are not properly looked after and managed sustainably. Developments in research and science can deliver very real and tangible solutions in this area. In this afternoon's sessions, you will hear from national and international experts on how scientific and research developments could potentially alleviate the harsh realities of climate change impacts by improving the forecasting of severe weather events. The concept of sustainability is also integral to one of my own key areas of ministerial responsibility, and that is the implementation of the Common Fisheries Policy. One of the main ways that the Common Fisheries Policy aims to achieve long-term sustainability is by reaching the target of bringing all stocks to maximum sustainable yield by 2020 at the latest. Bringing all stocks to maximum sustainable yield levels will give greater stability and larger quotas to the Irish industry in the medium and long term. Just this week, at the Fisheries Council of Ministers meeting in Luxembourg, I made it very clear that I will not support the immediate application of maximum sustainable yield in scenarios where it would cause unnecessary social and economic hardship. The attainment of maximum sustainable yield must be achieved on a gradual and progressive basis, taking account of socio-economic impacts. Another fundamental shift in fisheries policy and fishing practices in the common fisheries policy is the landing obligation or discards ban. This policy, over time, will assist in improving the state of the stocks of importance to Ireland and will result in increased fishing opportunities for the Irish fishing industry. This will ensure that families dependent on fishing can look forward to being part of a vibrant, productive, resilient and sustainable Irish fishing industry and can expect to continue to achieve a reasonable return for their efforts and investment. As this is my first address to the Ocean Wealth Conference, I feel it is important to reaffirm the Government's commitment to developing the blue economy. Harnessing our ocean wealth was the first cross-cutting national blueprint ever produced for the marine, published in 2012. The continued priority afforded by Government to this strategy is a really clear signal that the marine is a central part of our economic and social plan for the future of our country. I welcome the ongoing support from the Taoiseach and my colleagues around the Cabinet table in continuing to drive this agenda. Political commitment, while important, is, however, just one element of this equation. To help bring about the lasting growth and achieve the goals of our integrated marine plan, we also need the ongoing commitment of our marine researchers, private and public sector experts, academia, educational institutions and investors, as well as a coordinated policy-making approach at government level. The cross-governmental Marine Coordination Group, which I now chair, has been central to delivering this kind of approach across government and is vital to the strategy's success. The Marine Coordination Group has produced the annual Harvesting Our Ocean Wealth Progress Review report, which all of you have in your conference packs today. This year's review outlines the many significant developments in the marine since last year's conference in Ringaskiddy in Cork. I'm going to mention just a few of the items of progress in the report here this morning. Ireland's European Maritime Fisheries Fund operational programme was agreed and adopted by the European Commission and administered by my department, will provide €240 million programme for the seafood sector up to the period 2020, and this is co-funded by the Exchequer and the European Maritime and Fisheries Fund. This is more than double the level of funding provided under the last programme. The publication of the Development Task Force in 2015, following its endorsement by Government, provided a very useful framework to assist the development of the marine sector. A key recommendation of the task force was the establishment of a multi-agency marine development team. I am pleased to announce today that the marine development team will shortly be set up, coordinated by the Marine Institute in partnership with key development agencies such as the IDA, Enterprise Ireland, Science Foundation Ireland, Bord Iascaigh Mhara, Bord Bia, the SEAI, GSI, Údarás na Gaeltacht and Fáilte Ireland. I'm delighted to have been involved in the formal launch of the Smart Bay site this morning. This unique site will be the only one of its kind in Europe and will transfer and transmit images of the underwater observatory site here in Galway across the internet. An initiative of the Marine Institute in partnership with the SEAI, the Smart Bay Ireland Limited facility is designed to provide developers of ocean energy devices and novel marine sensors and data products a platform where their devices can be tested in real-world conditions. The establishment of Smart Bay received support from the Higher Education Authority, the Dublin City University, INUI Galway, and the Smart Bay Observatory Map Observe Predict is linked to Irish mapping of the Atlantic with the EU, the United States and Canadian partners. I have to mention that Cork Seafest 2015 was a very significant success and attended by over 10,000 people over 3 days. I'm sure that this year's event in Galway will be even more successful. And I would urge all of you staying for the weekend to spend some time enjoying all that it has to offer. Seafood, cookery demonstrations, tours of the Celtic Explorer and Celtic Voyager, and all kinds of seafaring family activities and entertainment. Looking to the future, EU Maritime Commissioner Vella, who I met earlier this week, has spoken of the 21st century as the blue century, where our relationship with the sea and the oceans will undergo significant change. It is a testament to precisely how far we have come here in Ireland in recent years that we already have burgeoning marine hubs emerging here in Ireland, such as in the wider Cork Harbour area and in Castletownbere, Dublin Port, Shannon Fines, Bellevue in Waterford, Killybegs in Donegal, and of course here in Galway. We can and should be proud of what has been achieved to date, and the outlook for Ireland's marine sector is very exciting. Government can and will assist and partner in every way in continuing to build on this progress, but our business sector and investment community must also grasp the many opportunities now available and ensure that together we develop Ireland's blue economy in a collaborative fashion. Thank you very much.